Hello and welcome to Tools in the Shed, a podcast powered by CarsGuide, ready to rip into car stuff that has caught our eye this week. I'm James, and with me is Matt.
Yes.
Who's
Hello.
been diving into compression ignition and particulates.
Oh.
And Richard.
Buongiorno.
Who's been assessing the halftime score in that contact sport otherwise known as new car sales. And we'll update you on the man, the myth, the legend in this week's MuskWatch. So stay with us. But first of all, we've got some feedback. And look, SC, a regular commenter, thinks maybe the deliveries record that Elon was shooting for, we were talking about that last week, was for the Mars Moon mugs rather than cars, because Elon had mistakenly put up an image of the moon in full eclipse as Mars, and it ended up on a mug for SpaceX, a piece of merch.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
So that could be, maybe it's record sales after we gave it a bit of a burst last week. You can imagine a few cups have moved off the shelf.
All helps.
Needs a bit of fact checking.
Now, Hammer rocks. Hammer.
Oh,
He's humble in victory and thanks us for the cap. Notes he has a solar panel that powers the sex machine like me and gives Jimbo a shout out for getting him across the line because Jimbo came in to give him a final shot. We've got the address.
yes.
And
Here it is. Look,
down here.
JC's just
Look,
getting
here
something.
it is. The envelope, the cap.
Yep.
It's on its way. All right. So there's the proof.
Have we signed it?
We've signed it in black.
In black.
So it'll be difficult
You won't be able
to
to-
make that out. It's
This
very
one-
subtle. Very subtle.
This one's
branding.
been signed as well. You can't tell. It's perfect.
Now, Stephen Davis wants to know if we cop an earn from iTunes for the audio version of this podcast. And all I can say is, well, no. But if any sponsors out there would love to throw a bit of cash out
Yeah.
my way,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'd be-
for a
we'd-
gratuitous mention here or there.
Accept.
No, who
Streets
knows?
ice cream. We'll eat Buffalo Bills live on set.
Now, Prince Dog Official is interested in the idea of a Hilux hybrid by 2025 because Toyota has said that they're going to have a hybrid version of each of their model lines by 2025. So his mind has gone to Hilux.
It'll happen.
Says fuel economy seems to be the primary driver, in the working ute market. And how will a hybrid go? And I reckon it's a really interesting question because you think of it in terms of passenger cars, but what about the commercial vehicles,
A very interesting question.
Yeah.
Very.
And
very.
I think already Toyota has so much knowledge on board in terms of hybrid. They've been at it for so long that morphing it into the whole commercial space and giving it enough torque and making sure that it can do the job and save a bit of fuel,
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'd trust them to be able to do that pretty well.
I mean, we're seeing it in America with the next segment up, utes,
Yep.
with
Rivian.
hybrid versions and electric, the fully electric Rivian.
Yep.
There's also hybrid versions of the Ram. There's and the F-150. So
I think it'd be even safe to say that Toyota, in their secret mountain lair, already has one. Maybe even an EV hybrid Hilux ready to go.
Full EV.
Ready to go. Yep.
So
of course they would.
I
probably
think in answer to that question, it does seem a little bit oddball right now, but Toyota will be so far ahead of the curve that Richard's right. They will have been working on it for some
Oh,
time, and I reckon it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, it'll call into question the usability of that sort of drivetrain in the application. I mean, as we know, utes these days aren't necessarily just for work. A lot of the time they're for play as well, and more and more so they're for play more than work. So
Yes.
a hybrid application would actually make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Well, that's true, and I mean it's a nice segue because Prince Dog Official talks about the fact that people tend to go for a diesel. Petrol sales so minuscule
Tiny.
in Hilux, which brings us to the topic of diesel and where we're at with that because it's getting a bit of a bad press at the moment in terms of emissions. I suppose it's always had that to a certain degree, but what's doing?
It's on the nose.
Fill us in.
It is on the nose.
Yes.
So, as you may be aware, the end of half year sales have just happened, and what it means is that the first 6 months of this year have gone past, and we've seen basically diesel drop across every single segment.
Wow.
So,
is that right?
Yeah. So, even in the heavy commercial, the light commercial sales, you'll see a diesel drop of 8.6% for private buyers and 2.2% for non-private buyers.
Now,
So-
I mean, we're going to get to a kind of broader wrap on the first half.
Yep.
But how does that relate to the market overall? It's been going in a negative direction anyway.
Yeah. So, diesel basically people are moving away from it in every possible way they can.
Yeah, okay.
And a lot of that has to do with car manufacturers actually pulling diesel cars off the market.
Yep.
So a lot of the private passenger car segment vehicles that had diesel engines in the years gone by now do not have diesel engines available for people to choose.
Yes.
So they might be, you might be, even popular cars like the Toyota RAV4, which has had a diesel in the past.
Yep.
This generation version, no diesel. Instead, they've got a petrol or a hybrid.
And in fact, there have been recalls. Bring your car in. We're pulling that diesel engine out, putting a petrol in, just to make sure that
we'll do it for you.
Refresh the fleet.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I don't think that's as far as they're going with it,
okay.
but not yet.
No.
Maybe if you see a Richard Berry classic short film coming up very soon, you will see that maybe electric is the future.
So
You're
it's
going to see
not
the future.
So it's driven partially by availability, a lesser range of choice.
Yeah, exactly. And so even you're looking at private SUV sales are down in diesel land as well. But it's, there's other cars, hybrids are up immensely. Petrol, electric, plug-in hybrids as well. They're all going up, where diesels are just going.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean that there aren't brands who are still investing in diesel or still selling cars exclusively with diesel. We're seeing the new Volkswagen Touareg, for example, only available in diesel at the moment, and looks like that they'll only offer it as a diesel unless there's a plug-in hybrid petrol that comes along at some point later on, or a petrol V8. Jeez, we can wish.
Which is a possibility, I think.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I think that that sort of end of the market is quite interesting. The luxury SUV segment is still very much dominated by diesel engines.
Yes.
There are more and more petrol hybrid coming, like the X5 that you wrote a story on, JC, this week. X5 will have a range-topping petrol hybrid version, which will offer customers a different sort of mobility, I guess you could say. But Richard, what do you reckon about diesel? Is it on your nose? I mean, not literally, but
it won't be. Look,
a bit of soot.
I've had it on my nose in the past. I did work as a gardener, and that smell of diesel still.
I don't know whether it's the black powder that Richard favours, but
oh look, diesel's one of those things where even though it's being outlawed and banned in European countries, I think Australia and the United States will probably be the last two to hold out in terms of the use of diesel because of our agriculture industry and commercial industry. But we will go the way they are going. And look, we've all been in this game for a few years now, and we've gone to launches and we've seen them announce that there are no diesel variants being offered in ranges, from light cars to utes and stuff like that.
Because let's face it, the benefit of diesel is its fuel economy, and that typically a compression ignition engine, diesel, delivers really good torque, low down.
Yep.
So it's got a lot going for it.
Yep.
Sadly, in recent years, controversy around diesel emissions of various kinds has brought it to the public attention, and diesel is quite literally on the nose. But you can't write off the fact that it is hugely efficient as a means of internal combustion.
And so that brings me to the new Ram 1500 Eco Diesel. Eco diesel is one of those words that you sort of cringe.
Clean coal?
Is that oxymoron?
Yeah, you cringe.
No, just
like clean coal.
Yeah,
moron.
Yeah, thanks. So it is coming with a 3-litre turbo diesel V6 with 179 kilowatts and 569 newton meters. So it's got a bit of a torque advantage, a bit of a power deficit compared to the 5.7-litre V8 versions of the Ram, but it's also $10,000 more, and it still uses 11.9 litres per 100 for a diesel.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a really honest claim. Where we see a lot of manufacturers
optimistic,
saying mid 6s or high 7s or whatever, and you end up using double that. So probably the most disappointing thing about this new Ram 1500 Eco Diesel is that you can't get it with the 4.5 ton towing capacity. It's a 3.5 ton limit, which sort of rules it out in my head instantly, because the advantage of having the extra torque would be that you can pull bigger things easier.
And I would have thought that the prime target for those things were people that have to tow big stuff.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I think that going back to Professor Dog or whatever his name was. Is it Professor
No,
Dog?
no, let me get that right.
Princess Dog?
Prince Dog Official.
Oh, Prince Dog
As
Official.
opposed
My
to
apologies.
Prince Dog Knockoff. This is Prince Dog Official.
Okay,
Yeah.
my apologies, Prince Dog Official. I think that there's definitely moving forward the next 7 years, we're gonna see more and more hybrid utes.
City.
Yep.
Hybrid utes and hybrids generally is just the way things are going. Bye-bye diesel. It's been good. I still love diesel engines. I mean, there's still so much controversy around Dieselgate. You think about even in the last week or so out of Germany, there's been reports about Audi's 3-litre V6 diesel having 4 defeat devices detected, and it was on sale until August last year.
Yeah.
So
Oi.
this is an evolving story. It
it is.
continues to keep getting
Well, it'll partially
dirty.
be through legislation. There'll be some, areas that will just say, okay, no diesel engines.
Yep.
We don't want them in our area. Lack of availability through manufacture and consumer demand through just general cognizance of what diesel is and whether people like it or not.
It makes me wonder about the next generation Land Cruisers that we see, the new 300 series that apparently people are really interested in. Not many people buy a Land Cruiser 200 series,
But want to know about
but
it.
everybody wants to know about them.
Okay.
So this new 300 series is apparently going to be hybridized.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to see whether Toyota will do a diesel hybrid as part of its...
It would be great to get some feedback from people listening
let us know.
and watching. Let us know what you think. Is diesel in your future or not? If not, why not? Just let us know. That'd be great. And we'll move through then to sales more generally. And Richard, it's been a tough sales world out there, hasn't it? Fill us in.
It's been one hell of a year.
But we've reached half time.
We've reached half time. I'm blowing the halftime whistle. I've got a bit of a wrap up for you. I'm going to give you the winners for the first 6 months of this year, the losers. Well, they're not so winners.
There's a lot of losers.
There's a lot of losers. There are a lot more losers than winners. And also just give you the figures. So look, as we know, the market is down. Like down. Prices are down.
Because
seriously.
we've been in this mode where we just kind of expected each year to be incrementally just a little bit higher than the last.
That's
and
right.
It's been that way for so long.
Each year we're like, we've passed the million car sales, mark, and then we've passed it again. And last year it was about 1.15 million cars were sold. This year we are not on track to hit that.
Yeah.
So this year 554,496 vehicles have been sold. Now, that's all vehicles, light vehicles, heavy vehicles, small cars, passenger cars, SUVs, all of them.
Yep.
This time last year, we were at 605,522, so about 100 or so, or 50,000 cars ahead.
Yeah.
So sales ahead. There's a lot of reasons for this. The housing market's been also suffering. There's been an election recently, and we've even noticed just in these monthly June sales, not even the end of financial EFI incentives have helped either.
Oofus.
Yeah, the market is still down. So it's down by, compared to last year to date, by 8.4%.
Right.
So the winners at the 6-month mark. In number one place is the Toyota Hilux.
Oh, surprise.
Yep. Now, just sales of the 4x4 alone, 19,516 this year.
Right.
In number two, hot on its heels, is the Ford Ranger Ute.
Wow.
Also, just 4x4. Don't forget you can get 4x2s as well, but these are just the 4x4 I've taken out. 19,258.
So it's close.
It's really close. Yeah.
We've seen the Ranger outsell the Hilux in the 4x4 segment before.
That's
it
right.
has happened.
But Hilux just has those few fleet buyers in the two-wheel drive segment. Still interested.
That's right. Actually, that says more about Ranger than it does about Hilux.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Mazda 3. And that's 15,215 year to date.
Wow.
That's really good.
I'm surprised by that.
So it's knocked off Corolla.
It's knocked off Corolla, and Mazda 3 was at number 3 before this new generation model came out as well. And in number 4 place for year-to-date figures, Toyota Corolla, not far behind, actually, only about 200 behind from Mazda 3, 15,019 sales this year.
Interesting thing about Corolla is that they're persisting with an old sedan, but the new hatch, where Mazda's launched with new sedan and new hatch at the same time. The new sedan of the Corolla will come later this year, and I mean,
I wonder if that'll boost things.
It's a small part of the market for them, but it's still an important car. I mean,
Yep.
it's the new Corolla sedan is not that much smaller than a Camry.
That's
it's
right.
going to be $5 grand
Correct.
less.
It's
So,
big.
you know,
There will be lawn bowls club car parks all over the country. Chockers with
Yep.
it.
they've got
Yep.
the sporty new Corolla,
Yeah,
James.
yeah. Look at it, isn't it? Oh, I don't know. It's a bit too
Bit
too
Larry.
much too rich for my blood.
Alloy wheels. And in number 5, in 5th place, we've got the Hyundai i30, of course. The
Okay.
top 3 small, cars.
Yep.
14,980 sales. No surprises there.
well, actually,
Really?
When do we get to an SUV?
yeah, I was going to say that I am a bit surprised that the 3 hatchbacks. Maybe this is a part of the cash-strapped society that Australia seems to be at the moment.
Yeah.
They're all opting for hatchbacks rather than stepping up to a SUV
Yeah.
that they don't need.
Well, look, the losers are even more interesting because the losers don't necessarily indicate a car that's bad.
Yeah,
Because there's a couple here which are bad, and there's a couple here which are really good.
Yeah.
So losers this year. This year, Astra, Sedan, and Sportwagon were axed.
Yep.
They've gone. But even though sales till June are 3,095, which it's not too bad for a model. A lot of manufacturers sort of are quite happy to sell 3,000.
Oh, there'd be
Not-
manufacturers that'd be happy to sell 3,000 total.
Correct. I mean,
Yeah.
and you never go broke making a profit.
That's
so
right. That's right.
Volume in some senses is irrelevant. If you're making money and you can make throughput for your dealer network and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But still, the scorecard, it's the scoreboard.
Yeah.
But there are even worse ones than that.
Okay.
The BMW 6 Series GT, 17 was sold in 2019. Now, here's a car which is good. I've reviewed it, and I really liked it. The Kia Rondo. They sold 4 in 2019. And I love that
But
car.
I think that car's now been axed.
Yeah, so
because
that's 4 that are left.
It's one, yeah, it's one of those cars that
Yeah.
should have done better than it did, and they had the Soul as well. It was the
Yeah.
same sort of story,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
it? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, getting quick for your Rondo.
yeah.
And finally, a car that I loved, and I
Yeah.
really rated it, the Subaru Levorg. They've only sold 109 this
Oh.
year, and it really deserves to sell far more. It's such a good car.
Right.
Successor to the Liberty.
Yeah.
It's a great wagon.
Levorg always sounded like something out of Transformers to me. Like it should be a character somewhere in the background.
Its biggest issue is its name. If it was an Impreza wagon,
Yeah.
they would sell
Yeah.
5 times that many.
It's built on a WRX platform.
Yeah.
It's WRX all the way to the boot.
Yeah.
And it's just got a wagon.
So
on
you
the
reckon
end
it's
of
the awkward dinner party conversation? Like, oh, you've got a new car. Tell
Yeah.
us all about it. What'd you get? Yeah, we got a Levorg.
I reckon
you got
you
a
would.
what?
Yeah.
You-
Well,
you
I'm
would-
off.
You would
yeah.
say, "I've got a Subaru wagon." Oh yeah,
Yeah.
turbocharged. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, turbocharged one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
that's how you'd get out of it.
Or a
I suppose.
WRX wagon.
Yeah. Oh, I
Sport.
didn't know they made them. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's called a Levorg, but it's a WRX, mate.
Oh,
it's
I
a
have to-
WRX.
yeah, that's right. I have to go as well. I don't feel well.
It's a what?
Oh, I better go. Oh, I got a big day tomorrow.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Levorg.
that's the wrap up for you.
Terrific.
Things aren't looking particularly good for vehicle sales in Australia right now. We're not too far behind, but maybe the market's sort of settling down.
Well, absolutely. We've gone down to the Reserve Bank at 1% as the interest rate. We've got a stable kind of political situation. We've had the election.
Yeah.
ScoMo seems to be, just sailing along, doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Maybe people will feel a little more optimistic in the second half. Who
So
knows?
here we go, boys. Are we going to tick over 1 million sales this year, or are we going to fall short?
Oh, no, over 1 million, I would say.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How much over?
Oh,
I don't reckon it's going to be much over.
well, sorry, Richard, just to put you on the spot, what
Yeah.
was the total figure for the first
Total
half?
figure for the first half for this year, 554,496.
So things have got to get better.
Yeah.
Well,
But
even if
part-
they maintain that pace.
The only thing to say is part of that first half is your Rufus kind of numbers,
Yeah.
and that is the biggest sales period of the year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get a bit of pre-Christmas activity, and then it goes really quiet
Yeah.
at the end of this next 6 months.
Yeah.
So, not by much.
Yeah.
I'll say it'll be 1 million and just tripping over the line.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
What about you? You reckon the same?
Oh, look, it will. It will go over 1 million, but only just.
Yeah.
If you double what we are at the moment, it will.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and
So
look,
I reckon we'll still maintain that sort of about 6 to 8% lower than last year's sales, which,
Gets us just over 1 million.
yeah,
sales.
generally I think that's going to be an okay outcome considering what could have happened.
All right.
yeah, just as a final bit of information, Holden is still in the top 10 for June as
Okay,
well, and they've been
sweet.
holding on to that spot for a long
Just.
time.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Holding on.
Okay, very good. Now, rather than 1 million cars, let's talk about just one at a time.
Yep.
And the cars we've had in the garage this
yes.
week. So I'll kick it off.
Yeah.
And with a car that I probably had a particular expectation of. It's the BMW Z4, and it's the 2-litre version. So it's the entry point into there. And I thought, I don't know, I wonder how this will go with thinking back to Z3s and into the distant past of this kind of model range for BMW. And there were some attributes to the car that are quite similar and characteristic of those older ones.
Yeah.
The seat feels a bit thin, it's been trimmed down because they're trying to pull weight out of the car, and you get that feeling like, I'm not sitting in a very comfy seat, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was just that sort of thin feeling. And you're sitting quite upright in the car. But the engine, the 2-litre, I couldn't help thinking, that's all the engine you need in this car.
Yeah.
It was really quite sprightly. I didn't go on a particular drive-in. I drove it home, took the long way to work on the way in, and I really liked it. Now, the problem is that it's a little bit exy. You're still looking at $85,000 before you've put it on road.
Wow.
And the car that came to my mind while I was driving it was an MX-5.
Yeah.
Like, they're in that same sort of zone, if you
Yeah.
like, in terms of the way they feel. Obviously, they're both 2-seat convertibles. That's a given. But just the way they drive, and an MX-5, I'd probably be going down that road.
Okay, I didn't realise it was that expensive when I drove it as well. I had a quick spin of it, but I thought it was like high 60s.
Yeah.
And at high 60s, I was thinking, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if it's 85,
Yeah.
For me, if a Z4 is $55,000 as that spec was,
Yeah.
they'd sell plenty.
Yeah. Well, look, let's put a bullseye on the screen, and if I've got that wrong, people can just take aim. I did have a look this morning. I'm pretty sure that's the right figure.
That's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot of money, and especially when you say you can get the same driving experience and the same fun out of an MX-5, maybe even a little bit more, because as you're driving along, you're thinking, I got this for less.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I've got to say that in the MX-5, just to go off on a tangent, the two engine options there, the 1.5 and the 2-litre, just to be perverse, I really like the 1.5.
Yes.
Because
It's a good balance.
I think it's a better balanced car.
Yep.
It feels a little more nimble. I'm sure it's not my imagination. It
Yep.
does feel like a more responsive car.
Yep.
So, and it means it's even less money.
Yeah.
I really like that car. So,
Yep, I'm with you.
That's the appeal of, I think, a small, cheap roadster.
Yep.
yeah.
So it's just got to be fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Richard, we'll
Yes.
move on to your good self. And we were talking about hybrids not too long ago,
Yeah.
and you're in the middle of that zone.
That's right, totally in the thick of the hybrid land. It's Toyota, it's Corolla.
I wonder what hybrid land would be like.
Oh,
Anyway,
Would
Sunshine.
be
efficient.
rainbows.
It'd
dull,
just be a lot of
pretty dull.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking of those noises.
Bit of brake feel weirdness.
Very, very wooden brakes. I've been in a Toyota Corolla Ascent Sport Hybrid.
Okay.
Look, you know how I feel about hybrids. I love electric cars and I love combustion engines. I don't like that halfway in between. It's like skim milk. You know what I mean? It's
like
like
between water and milk.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically a hybrid for me.
Okay.
It's not a good petrol car. It's not a good electric car. It's somewhere in between.
It's a happy balance.
Oh, it's not even happy. It's not even a balance. Anyway, look, it's too small for me.
Yeah.
I can't sit behind my driving position.
No.
The boot's too small. These are just my initial driving.
Back seat's tight.
It's so tight. But those front seats are really comfortable.
Yeah.
It's really a sort of a two-person car, and if you've got two small kids or occasional people sitting in the back, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But I was surprised by the boot size.
Yeah.
But to drive, great. In terms of driving dynamics, the
Yeah.
chassis is excellent.
Yeah.
The steering is really good. It's really enjoyable to drive. It's just missing a full petrol engine.
And look,
really.
and the other thing, Richard, as you probably discovered or already know, the boot space is just so limited. It's a massive Achilles heel.
Absolutely. I took some video of it yesterday, which you can probably see behind us, and the boot's tiny. It's not only high, so you have to sort of hoist things up to get over the sort of lip. It's just tiny.
Yeah.
I couldn't fit all the things that I normally transfer out of the boot of one car into the other. I had to use the rear row to put stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that
That's your pogo stick.
The pogo stick, the fencing outfit.
That's right,
No.
your fencing outfit.
Yeah, that's right.
that sort of practicality thing does play into some people's purchases.
Yeah.
But other people just want a little hatchback.
Yeah.
They don't really care about
That's
the
a
boot.
good point.
But if
Yeah.
you do want a big boot, I mean, you've got nearly 3 times as much boot space in a RAV4.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It's a much bigger vehicle now, though.
Yeah,
RAV4,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a pretty big beast.
well, even a CHR.
And
Yep.
I would argue that on the other side of that, if you just want the look, you got a Yaris.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's
if
right.
you're really not fussed about backseat room or load space, Yaris is there. The Corolla, by rights, should be a little more generous on,
Absolutely.
on the load
And-
space.
One thing is for sure, the Corolla will be around forever.
Right.
And that model you'll be seeing on the roads in 2050.
Yeah.
At the end of the Cosmos,
The end of the
there'll
Cosmos,
be a Corolla.
there'll be a
there.
Corolla there. It feels well built. It's well put together. It feels pretty bulletproof.
Cool.
Yeah, there's not much not to like apart from the size.
Beaut. All right, well, we'll move on to the next vehicle. And M4, you have been behind the wheel of a Blue Oval special,
Yes, the Ford Focus Active.
Oh wow!
Now,
as opposed to the inactive.
yes,
Yeah.
as opposed to the latent.
Dormant.
Yeah, dormant. So
Yeah.
the Ford Focus Active is basically a slightly raised, slightly beefier looking version of the regular Focus hatch. It's designed to appeal to people who want that little bit of SUV-ness. It's essentially the perfect embodiment of the term crossover.
Okay,
Because it's just a front-wheel drive hatchback that
you're
looks
crossing
tough.
over to the other side.
Yeah, and
You're speaking to us from beyond.
I sort of feel that it's the most reluctant
How's Bob
attempt.
Hawke doing?
It's the most
Anyway.
reluctant attempt at an SUV-ish car that I've ever come across because
Reluctant?
it doesn't fully commit to the idea of being SUV-ish.
Right,
They've
yeah.
got 2 extra drive modes. They've got 30 mil higher suspension. It's still front-wheel drive. I put it in slippery mode, accelerated from a roundabout this morning. The tyres still spun. It's just...
All right, so
It's-
trying to please too many, trying to appeal to too many
It
people.
appeals to someone.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
But it's so short of what you might think that you want
Yeah.
if you're buying that sort of car. If you're buying that sort of car, buy a Subaru XV because you get all-wheel drive, you
Yeah.
get the beefy looks, and it's not taking a half-hearted attempt at it.
Well, isn't that the old truism that if you try to please everybody, you please no one?
Yeah.
You know, so unless you do get a bit specific about it, you're going to,
And like-
minimise your appeal.
I'm the sort of person who loves Audi all-road models and the Volkswagen all-track ones, and those sorts of cars with the beefy body kit and the rugged look and all that. The Mercedes-Benz
Yeah.
E-Class wagon with the
Yep.
that is I'm there. I'm that guy.
Right.
But not if it doesn't have all-wheel drive.
Okay.
It just seems
Yeah.
a bit of a miss.
Yeah.
I went to the launch of that car. Well, it wasn't ready by the time the new generation Focus came out, but they did cover it
so
all.
you turned up and there was just
No, they gave us all the technical information.
Okay.
And it's really interesting how they've engineered that. Because one of my questions was, have you just jacked it up? Have you just put it on stilts? And one of the reasons why they didn't do that is because they didn't want to affect the handling. So what they've done is actually changed the knuckle. So it's got a larger knuckle, and it sort of sits higher, and that's why it's only a couple of millimeters or so. But they thought it would give it would satisfy that high riding sort of SUV appeal.
if it was a German car, that would be a pork knuckle.
pork
by
knuckle.
the way, with a little
Yeah,
bit
the
of salt
pork
on the
knuckle.
top. Yes, and a nice
Yeah.
pills off to one side.
Talking suspension.
Oh, sorry, big pardon.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
I don't really like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on. How about those swans, eh? Now, speaking of things some people like and some people
some
don't
people
like,
love.
it's time. Oh, exactly. It raises passion.
Oh,
Either way, it's time for MuskWatch. Right. So, first of all, the big news is Tesla production, and that's what a lot of people were hanging on in terms of first half, or rather second quarter, and to get a total of Tesla production, because a lot of investors and analysts were waiting for this number to make their predictions, their sales, their purchases, etc. So, a tweet from the dear leader says it all. Congratulations, Tesla team, and thanks to all the new Tesla owners with 2 heart emojis. Because Tesla delivered 95,200 vehicles in Q2 ahead of an expectation of around 91,000. So they've exceeded expectations, which is quite interesting. So according to CNBC, they've confirmed that that's a production and delivery record for the brand.
Just out of curiosity, this year Toyota, the top selling brand, delivered 104,000.
Yep.
In Australia.
In Australia, but that's
in the first half of the year.
In the first half of the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's still. I mean, that's
it's America.
It's America.
So they
Norway.
produced 87,048 cars. And so in the first quarter, they delivered 63,000. The share price jumped immediately, 7% on the back of that. And FYI, just as we noticed, you'll see it behind us, Elon's changed his Twitter pic. It's now Rocket Man reclining on the Roadster's bonnet while drinking a cup of coffee on Mars.
You know what's going to be the best thing about when he goes to Mars is he won't be able to tweet
Do all
anymore.
that.
Yeah,
Oh, no. It'll all be by then.
Sorry.
Yeah,
of course. He will have thought of that.
Now, the other thing is there's been a little bit of a brouhaha
Yep.
about some Roadster acceleration claims.
Oh,
this is a new Roadster.
The Roadster that is yet to come.
Yep.
So Clean Technica, shout out to them.
Yep.
Wrote a story which was a theoretical drag race between the Ferrari SF90 Stradale and a Tesla Roadster.
how do you do a theoretical drag race?
Well, they went to the specs. Let's go to the spec sheets.
That's amazing.
So the Ferrari SF90 Stradale, as we know, it's a plug-in hybrid, has 3 electric motors and just a sneaky 4-litre turbo V8 in there as well. So they're claiming 0 to 100 kmh in 2.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds. Now, remember, for people listening in the USA and elsewhere, that equates to 0 to 62 miles per hour.
Yeah.
All right? 0 to 62. So, Clean Technica says since Ferrari did not provide 0 to 60 mph numbers, the comparison needs to be 0 to 62 miles per hour or 100 kmh. And according to Tesla's website, the next-gen Roadster goes from 0 to 100 kmh in 2.1 seconds.
Okay.
While 0 to 60 miles per hour is 1.9 seconds. Okay? Remember those numbers.
Yep.
Right.
Last Thursday, the dear leader tweeted in response to Clean Technica's post promoting its story that the Roadster's 0 to 60 mph time is actually 2.1 seconds, not 1.9.
Right.
And you need to add the rocket thruster option
What?
to get to 1.9. Right? So that's a software upgrade,
Yeah.
basically.
Rocket thruster.
So it's
That's like ludicrous
10%,
mode.
10% slower than's claimed currently on the website.
Right.
And I went there, you can see it behind us. The website currently makes that claim, 1.9 seconds. And Tesla's been taking orders for the Roadster.
Yeah.
And the what's called the Founders Series car is going to cost as much as $300,000, US, which is stratospheric money.
It's massive.
In the United States for one of those. So look, the car is going to be extraordinarily fast.
Yes.
And we're splitting hairs here, but it's those hairs that actually get people's juices flowing when they're going to buy a hyper-performance car.
Yeah. I'd buy 2 Porsche 911 Turbo S's.
Yes, exactly.
I probably would as well.
Yeah.
And you love Tesla.
I do love Tesla, although a Porsche
then
911 can't do ballet.
But then sometimes he
And
doesn't.
Teslas can.
Sometimes he loves it, sometimes he
That's
doesn't.
true. I mean, we've all
I
got
go
a love
hot and
hate.
cold.
He
I go
does.
hot and cold
He's
on
flaky.
Elon.
He's
I am.
flaky on
You know,
Tesla.
I watched all 2 hours and 37 minutes of the Elon Musk Rogan Josh? Joe Rogan. Not Rogan Josh.
We did have dinner after.
Joe Rogan show the other night.
Yeah.
It was a long night.
All right.
Yeah.
Look, in other news in that whole realm, the Mirror in the UK reports that SpaceX has already lost contact with 3 of the 60 Starlink satellites it put into orbit around the Earth in May.
Oh.
So
There's still 60, 57 left.
as you remember, the satellites are part of a plan to provide cheap and reliable internet access worldwide. It reminds me of Samuel L. Jackson's character in Kingsman.
In Shaft.
If you've seen that.
Not
No. We've seen he's putting phone chips in everybody's new chips in everyone's phone to control their minds. So just bear that in mind when those satellites go up. They will
Chemtrails.
eventually form part of a super constellation of close to 1,200 satellites. However, 3 of the satellites have lost contact with ground control teams. They will now, quote, deorbit passively.
That means drop out of the sky.
Yeah.
According to a
Yeah.
SpaceX spokesperson. That means Earth gravity and atmospheric drag will pull them down until they burn up in the atmosphere.
Oh, okay.
And it must be said that Elon had previously stressed that the early Starlink satellites have a high risk of not working, given the quantity of newly developed tech that they carry.
Yeah.
So, all right, fair dues for that. Quote, he said, it's possible that some of these satellites may not work. And in fact, there's a small possibility that all of the satellites will not work.
Oh.
He said ahead of the launch in May.
I'm learning more and more about this guy. He's more of a let's just throw it up and see if
See
it
how it
works.
goes.
Throw it at
totally.
the wall. See if it's
Yeah,
exactly.
totally. Mm.
So as it stands, Tesla shares are at $234.90. That's up from $219 last week. So a fair old bump from the production numbers. It was close to $240 on Wednesday, so it's softened off a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
But remember that Tesla's promised between 360 and 400,000 deliveries this year. So they're at 158,200 deliveries for the first half. So they'll still have to deliver more than 200,000 vehicles in the second half of the year to get to the bottom end of their full year guidance. So they've got to keep that machine, that sausage machine, pumping out the cars and getting people to buy them.
I think they're amazing. I'm sorry, I'm back the other way now.
There you go.
It's swung.
Yeah.
All right, look, with that, we have reached the finish line. Thank you, M4.
Thank you.
And thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
And thanks to our producer, Mr. Pritchard. He's on fire, as usual. And please get involved and let us know
He's not on fire.
And what you think. Well, that's okay. Someone put him out.
Okay.
Search for Cars Guide on Facebook and Instagram using the hashtag CGPodcast or email us at comments@carsguide.com.au. If you're a listener, remember, you can watch us on YouTube. I was talking to someone through the week who said, listen to your podcast. And I said, you can watch it on YouTube. Really? YouTube? You can? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So it adds a bit of colour and movement. Give it a go. And if you're enjoying the podcast, tell others about the tools, please. It'd be great if you could pass it on. Until next week, a truck has overturned and lost its load of Vicks Vapor Rub on Sydney's M5 this morning. Police say there will be no congestion for at least 8 hours.
Oh, God.
I really like that.
I love Vicks Vapor Rub.
Yeah, to eat.
Maybe they can be our sponsor.
Yeah.
Get in touch, Vix.
Yeah. Tummy rub.
Tummy rub.